Thank you so much. That is our new regional organizer, digital organizer, Sonaya Houston. Welcome back, family. I am Darren Lewis. I am program manager with the Southern California Black Worker Hub for Regional Organizing. I forgot where I work. But thank you all for joining us once again for another installment. We have some amazing and lovely guests this evening. We'll be talking to you about the different career pathways and industry access, along with workers' rights and Black worker visibility across Southern California. So now you can go ahead and go to the next slide for me. All right, so we couldn't do any of this work without our partners, our CWAP partners, our hub partners, and most importantly, our state agency collaborative partners, which is the Department of Industrial Relations, the Labor's Commissioner Office, the Division of Workers' Compensation, Cal OSHA, and also that isn't listed here that I keep on saying I'm gonna update and I will update it. Our partners over at the Civil Rights Department as well. So we come together in a collaborative and collective effort to ensure that we are giving you the most informed, updated, informed, and skilled knowledge that we can provide you all. And yeah, in addition to that, we also have like our hub partners. Just a little bit about the hub. We are made up of Black worker centers throughout the entire Southern California region. So we have centers in Los Angeles, Long Beach, Inland Empire, High Desert, San Diego, and hopefully we'll get more in the future. But in addition to that, we also collaborate in our efforts with other Black-led organizations such as Earth Lodge Center for Transformation, the Six, Demo Chicks, Black Women for Wellness. You see all of them there. We also have a partner at UCLA, the Care Department as well. So we thank you all for being here. A little bit about Echo Black Voices. This is an intentional effort to reach Black workers and other workers of color throughout Southern California by way of education, outreach, and engagement through workers' rights. And in addition to that, the specific space this year, we made our space all about pathway organizations and pathway opportunities out there. And we do this by what we call the apps, which is access, pathways, and protection. So figuring out what are the access and entry points for workers who have desires to get in particular and specific sectors or industries, the pathway organizations and unions that provide those, and the apprenticeship programs as well. And what does the workers' rights protection look like? And so we do this Echo Black Voices by way of CWAP, but this is Echo Black Voices. Okay, this is what this is, this campaign, period. So without further ado, Sanaya, can you go to the next slide? Before we kick off the program and I introduce our lovely and amazing and special guests for this evening, we're going to invite one of our partners, Earthwise Center for Transformation, to come in and ground us in some profound and best and highest intention before we have some of these deep conversations and get you all like informed about what services and what resources are out there for you and your community. So without further ado, I will introduce the lovely Aaliyah from Earth Lodge to come in here and do your thing and ground us in the best and most prosperous intention. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Darren. It's a pleasure to be here. As you voices, Black voices, it's just our voices need to be able to ground by way of the Earth Lodge. Again, you see our slide there. We offer drumming classes, youth rites of passage classes, worker rights classes, because work shouldn't have to hurt. You should feel good when you're at your workplace. It should be like your second home. So let's go inside to that home within, that beautiful body that houses us to get the work done. day after day. Most of our days can extend from 8 to 10 hours. Okay. Our phone lines stay on just in case there's a text coming in from someone that needs help, someone that needs counseling. A lot of the times, the healer forgets to be healed. So we're taking this time out in the position of a caregiver of ourselves. I allow this time that we sit. You can sit with your spine up straight or allow yourself to lay back and be comfortable if you're in fact off camera. One of the most grounding things we can do is meditate, go within to see what our body is asking of us, see what we need to do, what needs to go in it to fuel us to do the beautiful work that we do. So, this meditation is about being grounded and growing because our roots are in the soil, our roots are in the earth, and we are growing into magnificence. So I'm going to lead us into a Kundalini practice known as Satnam Osiren. I ask that you pick a shape from a circle, triangle, or square. And we're going to visualize this shape as we close our eyes and put it right at the center point, our solar plexus, where we hold a lot of emotion. Okay, that's the navel point. So we can imagine that I'm going to use a square during this meditation, but again, those shapes are triangle and circle. Let's inhale. And when we inhale, we're filling the belly up with oxygen like a balloon. When we exhale, we're allowing our lungs to dispel of all the things that are no longer serving us. Inhale, exhale. Feel free to close your eyes and go within. There is a radiating gold light surrounding you. This is our time to encapsulate ourselves in divine protection. Inhaling again, take your shape, putting it at your navel point. The circle point is our infinity. What is it inside of us that we know that is infinite that we need? It could be energy. It could be creativity. Imagine that circle going around and around for infinite creativity, infinite energy. If you've chosen a triangle, visualize it. Because if you've chosen a triangle, you're needing more focus. Allow the triangle to expand on its sides, allowing divine energy to come in. Energy that will last you for those 8 to sometimes 15 days. In the belly, all the things that no longer serve you. Exhale. We're inhaling on this third inhale, and we're going to the square, allowing the square to open up at the top. If you've chosen the square, energy is a bit at capacity and you're needing to allow more in. That means sometimes saying no to things. Inhaling, allowing that energy to come up. Remember that we are surrounded with the gold light of divine protection. Exhaling out. I will offer a song for you, a Kundalini song, while you are sitting in the silence. This is a song for soothing ourselves because a lot of times when we're working and being a caregiver and just hustling throughout the day, whether it's sitting in traffic or catching the bus, we have to self-soothe. So I'm going to inhale on this song. Satanama Sa se so. I'll repeat this twice. Satanama Sa se so. Last one, slowly opening up our eyes. Satanama Sase Soham. The Sat is the I am. Sat Nam. I am. So greatness. You are the manifestation of greatness. You are powerful and you deserve beauty, love, and light and overflowing abundance. Thank you for allowing me to bring this meditation. Again, that is Satnam Osiren. You can do the Satnam Sohung anytime to just ground yourself when you first enter the room. So thank you again. We're available. There's our slide. Please feel free to go to our website and see what classes you can come down to. We'd love to have you there. Thank you so much, Darren. Satnam.
Just beautiful. Thank you so much, Aaliyah. Thank you for grounding us. Just beautiful. Again, Aaliyah is with the Earthwise Center for Transformation. If you look in the chat, you can see their website and also their tags for social media. So definitely get in contact with them, go to some of their events. Yeah, just get rooted with them for sure. Thank you so much, Aaliyah. All righty. So without further ado, we will just hop into tonight's presentation. We do have two amazing special guests this evening. The Hospitality Training Academy will be talking about career pathways in the hospitality sector. And then later on, we will hear a little bit from Legal Aid at Work as they talk about a lot of different things from wage theft, the Fair Chance Act, which is Assembly Bill 2095. But yeah, let's kick it off with the Hospitality Training Academy. So without further ado, I would like to introduce the Deputy Director of Programs, Audra Nee. Yeah, take it away.
Darren, thank you so much for having us being in this amazing evening with everybody and present to you guys on the programs and what we do. It's an honor. We appreciate the invite and very, very excited to share with everybody who the Hospitality Training Academy is and what we do supporting our communities and doing some transformational work. Next slide, please. So we're going to talk about who we are, what we offer, what is in it for the workers when they sign up with us, and what are the programs, what are the things that we offer to our community members. Next slide. So Hospitality Training Academy is a nonprofit organization. We are the training arm of Unite Here Local 11 and over 175 plus union employers, contributing employers in Southern California, Los Angeles, San Bernardino, Orange County, and entire state of Arizona. We are one of the training centers in hospitality sector, and I see many of you guys are from different locations. So if you go to Unite Here International, you'll be able to find exactly who the other training provider like ours in your areas are. What do? We train people and pathways entry, not only in the hospitality, but food service workers. And in this process, we focus on supporting and our community members are underserved individuals and population that it's a pathways to union jobs with benefit that is going to impact not only the individual, but the entire family with the, family sustainable wages. Next slide. So as you can see, we are the hub of the hospitality sector. As I mentioned, so if you look at Hospitality Training Center, our board is half union trustees and half the employers, and many of them are actually might be very familiar with you guys, familiar for you guys. So you can see we support and staff the entire food services in LAX. In any sport arenas that you attend in Southern California, including Dodgers, Crypto, Intuit, SoFi, those are managed by Levy, one of the employers, and we are supporting and training and staffing individuals in those arenas. We have the Westin, the JW Marriott, and so many other hotels. And in Orange County, the Disneyland, the entire hotel and the strips are staffed and trained by us. And by doing that, we're supporting, again, the community members, a pathways to union jobs that is going to make a huge impact for them and their families. We are a national recognized organization. Our trainings are very much aligned with Department of Labor and State of California Department of Industrial Relations apprenticeship program that is providing not only a certificate, but also a Department of Labor apprenticeship certification and State of California apprenticeship certification to our workers in hospitality and food service industry in again, Southern California and state of Arizona. Next slide, please. Our courses are free. Whoever comes to our programs, we make sure that they are connected with a funding stream that will pay for the trainings and they are getting support, the wraparound services that they needed. We rely on so many community-based organizations like all of you to support the individuals through the transformational work that we're going to do, from intake eligibility to wraparound services for case management, housing, childcare, paying for the utility, anything and everything that you can imagine that will be on the way of the participant, but with the way of the student to become a successful individual and finishing the program. We offer registered apprenticeship program in line cook, room attendants, housekeeper, mixology, bartending, and barista latte artist. Additionally, we also provide prep cook pre-apprenticeship, which is all registered again with the Department of Labor and State of California Department of Industrial Relations. We do safe serve certification, we do customer service, we do dishwashers, so many other customized training. We meet the participant where they are at. It's not one program fits all. We make sure that we choose and support them to be the best version of themselves, but providing that pathways for the individuals coming to us. All of our classes are free. The classroom materials all provided to them and is paid by the grant. 100% of it, including the uniform, including the knife kits, including the books that are very important tools for anybody that is going to a culinary industry. We place 100% of our individual after completion of training in union jobs. We have employers visiting us at the week 4, 5th of the program, and they're hiring individuals, interviewing individuals. Before they graduate, they have a job offer in hand that they can go to. We provide a lot of case management, customer service at the site. We serve a lot of immigrants and individuals that monolingual in Spanish, for example, and providing an ESL instructor right on the site to provide that vocational English component to individual. We do a lot of financial literacy, customer service. We think about anything that can be on the way of a success for anybody that is looking for a job. And we provide that wraparound, again, whatever we have in-house and whatever we don't have in-house, we reach out to the community partners to provide that for our students. Next slide, please. Our commitment is not only to our union employers on supporting them with fulfilling their hiring needs, but it's to our community. We know that we cannot do this ourselves alone. We got to make sure that we are connected with so many community-based organizations that's serving that vulnerable, marginalized individuals and supporting them, not only doing, kind of helping them with fulfilling their needs and, basic needs, including housing, including childcare, but also provided any additional support that they need. We target individuals that are experiencing homelessness, justice involved, foster youth, veterans, individuals, youth that are low income or opportunity youth that college is not the pathway for them, right? So we seek other ways of supporting them. And so many adults that are in need of employment right away. Next slide. There, we also think about ourselves as not, we are the bridge. We are the bridge from creating these jobs and also supporting the individuals. On the next slide, as you all are aware of, LA is getting ready for so many events, including the World Cup, soon Olympics. So we already see an uptick on the needs of so many of these opportunities that are coming our way. We just finished the job fair for SoFi that hired 1,500 individuals. Long Beach today is hiring about 250 individuals. So we know that the need is going to be there, the demand is there. So we're seeking now, focusing on recruiting more and more participants to make sure we're addressing the need that is in the industry. Next slide, please. Again, we offer the prep cook in English and Spanish. They get not only industry recognized certification, but also they get certification from the Department of Industrial Relations. That is like I always say, individuals that are graduating our program is like getting a bachelor's degree, associate degree after finishing this, and allowing them to be proud of what they have earned, and then helping them upscaling, helping them, with more training so to be more successful. Next slide. These are more details. I know the slide will be shared with you in terms of what is offered. The line cook apprenticeship program is it's 8 weeks program. It's 6 hours a day, 32 days of training. And through that 32 days, and I welcome everybody who wants to come to our kitchen. We'll definitely feed you. That's one of the hospitality values that we offer. They cook after 30 minutes of lecture. They cook the entire 5.5 hours, and the part of the reputation and part of the whole classroom is they have the recipes, and they have to master the recipes and understand the different cuisine, from French technique to American technique to Italian. So all that are being prepared and done within our kitchen and in Koreatown, and our barista lab in downtown LA, and soon our bartending lab in downtown LA as well. Next slide, please. Again, this is some of the students that are in our classroom. So you can see they're chopping and they're doing the practices. They have to fabricate a chicken about 5 times and get it done within 2 minutes. Get it done within 2 minutes. So that reputation is allowing them to be more successful. So you can see there are a lot of hands-on component. It's the component that is hands-on is very important, but also we teach a lot of soft skills during that time. So they learn how to do conflict resolution when they're at the kitchen. They team up and work on the recipe together. So there is a component of building commodity among the students. So there is a lot of emphasis not only in the hard skills part of it, the technical skills part of it, but also the soft skills part. Next slide, please. Who is eligible? Pretty much everybody. Whoever is willing, and culinary is the field they want to be in. As you know, it's not an easy field. They have to get up very early. The shift either started very early on at 3 a.m. or they have to work late evening. So as long as they have the work authorization, they have a driver's license, a social security number, they're 18 years and older, and they can pass a background check and drug test. Granted, some of reentry population, we already know that may not pass the background check, but we do have employers that are hiring without, having any issue with a background. So, again, the students, everything happens in person. We are very much face-to-face connection individuals. So they come to our info session, they complete a prerequisition, they complete our interview process, and within 2 to 3 weeks, they get notified if they get accepted to the training program. Next slide, please. These are our address. I hope after this call I will get some requests to come visit our kitchen lab. Darren has been at our kitchen and our barista lab, right? So you've seen we have an amazing latte classes going on. So our kitchen is at Koreatown, and our barista lab and office is in Olive, downtown LA. We are opening 2 kitchens, 1 kitchen in Inglewood and 1 kitchen in East LA very soon, within the next couple of months. And our bar is opening on May 17 in downtown LA as well. Next slide, please. There is a video here. I'm sure that it will be shared, but again, this is the pride and joy in every individual. So when they come to us, I always look at them and take a picture from the day one when they sit down in the posture that they're in. At the end of the program, when you see they're so proud of what they have accomplished and they look so happy, they look so satisfied with what they have made and what they have accomplished during this short period of time. Next slide. This is my contact information. I know my contact will be shared in the chat as well. I'll be happy to provide any additional questions and excited to partner up with so many of you. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you
Thank
so much, Audrey. And I know Gabriella and Evelyn couldn't be here, but I did come to the Barista Lab. You all, it is so amazing. And they are getting some major skills. Like that coffee was so good.
Good. I'm happy to hear that.
Yes, yes, yes. They're doing so amazing. And just the education that is being provided and all of the resources and just the community involvement is super amazing. So thank you so much. Thank you for speaking to the services and everything that is offered at HTA. You all, we will have a breakout discussion later on. After that breakout, you will have time to speak to Audrey, ask questions as well. So because I saw a few in the chat and I know some of them already got answered by way of the presentation. So you will have your chance to ask any additional questions about the apprenticeship programs and the barista labs and the line cook lab as well. Dunn, go ahead. I see you raise your hand since you're not a regular participant.
Good evening. I just wanted to say thank you for you guys being on. As you mentioned, like there's for our state, for our country, tourism is on the increase with all the events coming up, the Olympic events, the games coming here, and for our community, for Black community, we wanted. We were excited to have you all come on because we know part of our apps program exists because for Black workers, there are so many barriers that we deal with to employment. You mentioned for folks reentering, but just in general, access and pathways specifically for Black workers because of systemic anti-Blackness is always a challenge. And so in the hospitality industry for California, it's acknowledged that for Black workers, it is less than 1% of the workforce. And so in, other parts of the country, I think it's far greater than that. But for us here in California, it's far less. So to be able to connect with HTA and the service industry, hotel industry, hospitality industry, who has a very direct and specific pathway for impacted workers, for I think you use the other term, you use a different term, marginalized workers, right? I'm going to say for Black workers is important because of those barriers. And so I'm just excited that we're able to share this information tonight for those reasons.
Thank you for sharing, Dawn. All righty. Let's keep this party moving and rocking along. Go ahead and send the next slide. Thank you so much, Sanaya. All right, so we're going to keep the conversation going. So without further ado, we're going to introduce Legal Aid at Work. So Sandra, Stacy, and Gary, do your thing, do your thing.
Thanks so much, Darren. Could you go to next slide, please? So hi, everyone. It's so beautiful to be here in this space with you. My name is Stacy Villalobos, and I'm a senior staff attorney and the director of the Racial Economic Justice Program at Legal Aid at Work. And Legal Aid at Work is a California nonprofit that provides free legal services to workers in California. So we help workers understand and assert their rights and advocate for employment laws and systems that empower workers. And the Racial Economic Justice Program in particular focuses on Black and Brown workers who are discriminated against and economically exploited. And Legal Aid at Work also runs a network of workers' rights clinics across the state, including a few in LA and in the Inland Empire, like Ontario, which I saw someone was joining us from there, in San Bernardino. And I also want to flag that there are a lot of different legal aids in California, and we're all different organizations. And legal aid at work is different in that we focus specifically on workers' rights. That's why we're legal aid at work. I'll go ahead and pass it to my colleagues, for Sandra, then Gowrie, to introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sandra Johnson, and I am the Senior Racial Economic Workers Advocate. I am also formerly incarcerated, so I am system impacted, and I'll pass it to Gowrie.
Hi everyone, my name is Gary Nayar. I am an Equal Justice Works Fellow, and I'm particularly working with the Wage Protection Program and the Disability and Health Justice Program at Legal Aid at Work. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of this.
Next slide, please.
So today we're going to be talking about Box. It's also called Fair Chance, the Fair Chance Act, the California Fair Chance Act. It was passed in 27, well, it came into law in 20, it was passed into law in 2018. Next slide. So so I'll talk about Box. So Box and the California Fair Chance Act came out of organizing by formerly incarcerated people, especially through an organization called All of Us and None. All of Us and None is an organization of formerly incarcerated people that got sick and tired of being locked out of work. And so they got together to pass this policy. Well, it was a fair chance. It was citywide, but then they went on and took it national. So although we know that the Fair Chance Act did open the doors, employers are still getting through loopholes around the law and still discriminating against people with backgrounds. Next slide. So most employers can't ask you about your background, your criminal history before they offer you a conditional job offer, including on an application or in an interview. However, this slide here is these are the legal steps required that must happen before an employer can deny you a job application, before they can deny you a job. And if they still choose to move forward with their decision, they must follow this process right here. It is kind of small, but first oh, it's kind of small, but I'll go to my slide because I can see my slide better. They must give you they must do an individual assessment and find out what if the job does have a direct nexus to the job, to the position that you're applying. And then let me go back to that slide. And then if they still decide to take the job back, the company must identify what specific conviction it has a problem with, and the company must give you a copy of your background. A lot of people don't get a copy of their background, but they must get a copy of their background. It is illegal for them not to give you a copy of the background. And then after they do that, they must also tell you that you have 5 business days to submit any kind of rehabilitation, any kind of mitigating circumstances of the crime that was in your life currently. Then the company must then take all that information and they must reevaluate. They must reevaluate and make sure that the conviction still justifies that for them not hiring you. After that, if they still decide not to hire you, the company must inform you with a final decision in writing, and they must notify you that you have the right to file a complaint with the CRD. Next slide. However, I could go back. However, there is some off-limit information that they're not supposed to ask you about, and it is an arrest that did not not result in a conviction unless you have a current open case, a diversion program like a drug program or a pretrial program, a marijuana conviction older than 2 years, or arrest that has been sealed or pardoned or expunged. I say expunged, but it's dismissed, and they cannot ask you about your juvenile record. Next slide. This slide right here has a book that is the California Fair Chance Toolkit, and it was published by the attorneys here at Legal Aid at Work, and specifically in our program, the Racial Economic Justice Program. And there should be a link. Oh yeah, there should be a link in the chat to this. And this is a very good toolkit, and it has a lot of information in it. So I would hope that you go through it and share it with your clients and your network. Next slide. Okay.
Thanks, Sandra. And Sandra just threw a lot of information about you, about what your rights are and the status quo right now, those 3 different parts and how they each work, the 5 days, all that is really important, but don't feel like you have to memorize it in any way. Like you don't have to be able to recite it back to us. Just know if your system impacted, if your justice impacted, whatever term you want to use, that you have rights when you're looking for work. And you can always reach out to Legal Aid at Work if you believe you were unfairly denied a job because of your conviction or arrest. And we can always go through it with you and try to figure out, yes, you were illegally denied a job, and this is the part of the law that they violated, and then we can kind of follow up around that. But we're going to shift gears a little bit to talking about some actually advocacy that we're doing around the Fair Chance Act. As Sandra kind of alluded to, the law is not something that's static. It just is. It's something that changes, it evolves, it's a living thing, and something that we actually have the power to impact if we organize and demand that our rights be respected, basically, and that our dignity as human beings be respected. And so we've been working with a coalition of folks on something called the Fair Chance Improvement Bill, which is AB 2095. And that coalition of folks, you can see the different organizations that are listed on here, includes and really centers directly impacted people with arrest and conviction records. Sandra's being far too modest. She's been leading a lot of this work. She led a lot of the original work, actually. For the original Fair Chance Act, she was the one who testified and who provided her story about being unfairly denied a job after working somewhere for 6 years, and then they ran a background check and decided to fire her because of that. And now we're working to even make the law even stronger. And that coalition of folks includes Underground Scholars, which is a group that organizes formerly incarcerated students mostly at UCs, but there's also counterparts at Cal States and other colleges as well, community colleges. Legal Aid at Work, which is our organization, the National Employment Law Project, the Center for Employment Opportunities, All of Us or None, which is that organization that Sandra mentioned that led the first fight for a Fair Chance Bill, and Legal Services for Prisoners with Children. And this bill is actually making its way through the legislature in California right now. Like as we speak, we're currently up for a hearing tomorrow, although because of how the legislative process works, we won't know what happens with the bill until May. But so this is something that we're actively working on right now. Next slide, please. And we wanted to share with you a little bit about what we're seeing as problems with the law, but this is something too that we always want to hear from directly impacted folks. If you're seeing something happen, if you're being denied a job, please feel free to reach out to us and let us know what's happening so that then we can take that back also to the legislature and try to improve the law. But the loopholes that we're seeing right now are around the individualized assessment that Sandra mentioned. So that's where the employer has to look at you as an individual and decide, does your specific conviction, how long ago it happened, what the conviction is for, justify denying you this specific job, and look at what the job duties are, right? So for instance, if I have a DUI, but the job doesn't involve driving, I shouldn't be denied that job. Or if I have a really old conviction for homicide even, right? If there 20 years have passed since then I shouldn't be denied that job. So right now, the employers are supposed to be making that assessment, looking at you, an individual, and deciding, does this specific thing mean that I should deny this person a job? And also looking at anything that's happened since you were convicted. So have you done anything in between when you were convicted in those 5, 10, 20 years that have passed that should mean that that no longer represents who you are now, even if it ever represented who you are? But there's no requirement that they actually write down that individualized assessment. And so we're seeing that's the change that we're trying to make, requiring employers to actually write it down. Because we're seeing that employers aren't doing that individualized assessment. And then at the back end, if they get called out on it, then they make something up, basically. We're also seeing employers deny jobs where there is no direct and adverse relationship. So that's the term that the lawyer's way of saying there's no real reason, right? There's no connection between the conviction and the job. And we're even seeing that in really egregious cases where the applicant actually has an occupational license. So we've had clients, folks we work with, who have gotten, for instance, a CNA license or a barber's license, or even their license to be an attorney. And they've gone through this really thorough background check by the licensing board, right? This organization that has decided that no, even despite that conviction, because of the rehabilitation that's happened, because lots of time has passed, because this has no relationship with the job that they're looking for, they should still get that license, that occupational license. But even when they have that license, the employer is still turning around and saying, I still think you should be denied this job. And so that's a change that we're trying to make as well. That if a person has a license, if they've already gone through a vetting and a board, the government has already said, yes, they are able to do this job, that then the employer can't say, no, I still think there's a connection here because of stigma and discrimination. Employers also, another problem right now we're seeing is that employers are requiring applicants to actually pay for the background check, which is really just shifting the cost onto the people who are least able to bear it, right? Similar to what our previous speaker was talking about, financial barriers to getting work. When you don't have a job, you don't have you likely don't have a lot of financial resources at your disposal, and employers right now are actually making people pay for that background check. And then we're also seeing employers requiring an applicant to self-disclose their conviction history. So basically, they'll ask a question, right? Tell me about, have you been convicted of, and they phrase it in different ways. Have you been convicted of a felony in the last 7 years? Have you ever been convicted of a felony? Have you ever been convicted of a felony or misdemeanor? Things like that. And the original Fair Chance Act shifted when an employer can ask about that. It said you can't ask about it up front. That's the ban the box piece of it, right? It shouldn't be on an application or during an interview, you shouldn't be asked that. But employers are still asking, employers are violating the law and asking at the front end as well, which is right now unlawful. But they're also asking after they give a conditional job offer and after they say, I want to hire you. But that's still creating traps for our folks because sometimes you don't know that, oh, it was within the last 7 years, or, oh, I got it expunged or dismissed. So I thought my attorney told me that I don't have to disclose it anymore. Or, oh, I thought anything beyond 7 years, I don't have to disclose. But actually, for this industry, it's a 10-year background check. So things like that where people aren't intentionally lying or intentionally misrepresenting what their convictions are, but it's still being used as an excuse to say, oh, you didn't tell me, you weren't truthful about what your conviction history was, when employers can still just run a background check and know. So getting rid of that sort of trap around, were you being candor, were you showing candor or honesty? And then there are also unnecessary exemptions in the law. And we're seeing employers often claim that they're exempted from the fair chance process because of some vagueness basically in the language of the law. Next slide, please. So here are our solutions. So we want to close those loopholes in the California Fair Chance Act, all those that I just talked about, like by doing things like saying that an employer can no longer require someone to self-disclose or making employers write down the individualized assessment. We're also trying to codify important criminal history regulations that have been implemented. So to also expand the definition of an applicant, which is the word the law uses, to include current employees and those going up for promotions or transfers. So sometimes we're seeing, for instance, someone coming in at a kind of entry-level position and then doing a really amazing job, being an amazing worker, and then being told, oh, you should apply for a promotion. And then they apply for that promotion, they get a job offer, and then a background check is run, maybe a background check that's different than the original background check, and then they're told, oh, we're not going to not only hire you for the promotion, but we're also going to just fire you from even the job that you're in right now. So this would make it very clear that anyone who is a current employee, basically, or someone who's applying for promotions or transfers is also covered by the law. And it also clarifies that employers can't require an applicant to provide specific documents related to conviction. So we're seeing, for instance, employers say, okay, I see that you have this conviction from 10 years ago or even 3 years ago. go get me the police report from that. And if you don't get me the police report from that, then I will not hire you. And so that's being used, and it can be really hard to get some of these documents. Even as an attorney, sometimes I struggled to get them because of the way that different courts work, especially with older documents where everything was in paper and someone's like, I can't find the file. But also the same goes for police reports. You have to oftentimes physically go in person. It can be expensive. It can be really difficult for our folks to get those specific documents, and they don't actually give the employer any useful information about more than what the conviction record, the background check already shows. And so we want to make sure that employers can actually require that. And then the last goal around this bill is really to continue to build worker power around this intersection of the carceral system and workers' rights, so that our folks who, Sandra often talks about how the most important things to coming back home and being able to reintegrate into society is having a job and having housing. And so to recognize that, systems impacted people are more than just systems impacted people. They're also workers. They're also family members. They're also parents. They have all these different dimensions, and they want to be able to have a living wage, sustainable job, just like everyone else does. I see a question too in the chat around, are employers able to see expunged convictions? So some employers are able to. It kind of depends on the employer. For most employers, though, they're not supposed to see expunged convictions on background checks, or it'll show up as expunged. So it'll say like dismissed under, and then it'll have the penal code statute. Usually it's like 1203.4 or something like that. And so, but even if they see it, most employers are not supposed to consider that expunged conviction when making an employment decision. And there are some exceptions. Think around like, caring for children or things like that. Law enforcement, if you're applying to work for a police department or sheriffs, those are like the big exceptions. There are some smaller exceptions too, but for most employers, even if they see it, they can't use it. And I'll also flag though that sometimes someone has gone through and gotten their conviction expunged or dismissed, is the technical legal term, but it's not showing up on the background check because there are oftentimes errors on the background check. And so sometimes we have to intervene with the employer and say, whoa, 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 the background check company messed up, and this is actually supposed to be showing up as dismissed or expunged, and you're not able to consider that under the Labor Code and under the Fair Chance Act. Next slide, please. And now I'm going to hand it over to Gowrie to talk to you all about some existing wage and disability and health protections in the law.
Thanks, Stacy. I'm going to start off by talking about some of the current wage and hour protections, and then I'll touch on health and safety, and then finally end by talking about disability protections. Next slide, please. So starting off with minimum wage, the minimum wage in California is $16.90 per hour, but I also just wanted to bring attention to the fact that many counties have higher minimum wages. For example, in Los Angeles, the minimum wage is $17.81 per hour. So it's pretty important to keep track of where your work site is and to make sure if that your employer is paying you according to the law within that specific county. And then for overtime, generally speaking, all hours worked over 8 hours a day or 40 hours per week is considered overtime under the law. And for these hours, for these extra hours on top of the 40 hours and 8 hours per week, your pay should be at 1.5 times your usual pay. So if you are regularly paid, it should not be $10 an hour, but I'm doing this for easy math. If it's $10 an hour as your usual wage, your overtime would be 15. Next slide, please. And then as part of the labor code, we also have meal and rest breaks that are protected. So if you're working for more than 5 consecutive hours during your shift, you're entitled to one uninterrupted 30-minute break for a meal. And you're also entitled to 10-minute breaks every 4 consecutive hours. And these breaks must be paid. They're not unpaid. So the 10-minute breaks have to be paid. And also, if you are working for more than 12 consecutive hours, you're entitled to another 30-minute uninterrupted break. Next slide, please. So even though there are a few protections in place, wage theft is still pretty rampant, not just in California. but across the country. Wage theft is defined as your employer unlawfully withholding your earned wages or any earned benefits. And for the purposes of wage theft, benefits aren't necessarily like health insurance. They're like meal breaks, rest breaks, things that should have been provided to you if your employer were abiding by the law. And some of the things that we encourage you, some of the practices we encourage you to do to be in the best position to prevent wage theft are as follows. It's always good to keep your own personal log of your hours worked and your pay to make sure that you're being paid according to the number of hours you've worked per pay period. Finding out who your employer is and keeping track of who's paying you, who's making your schedule, who's communicating any changes to your shifts, things like that are also important to know who is in charge at the employer or at the workplace, sorry. And holding on to documents that are provided by your employer is also important, especially if there are any changes to the terms and conditions of your employment that they're providing you a notice of. And, later on, if there's a conflict, it's important to have that documentation for if you're seeking legal recourse for your legal advocate to be able to review them. But also, if you're advocating for yourself, it's always better to have a paper trail. And on that note, also documenting all communications between you and your employer is always a good idea. Next slide, please. And then moving on to health and safety protections, there are some protections that apply to all employees in all workplaces, regardless of the specific type of work you're doing. So as you can see on the slide, all employees have a right to a reasonably safe workplace. You have the right to training and protections to do your job safely, and you also have the right to refuse unsafe work. If you do think that there are health and safety violations happening in your workplace, there are a couple of steps that you can take. You can tell your manager or employer to give them a chance to see if they would change their practices, or you can request accommodations so you can avoid injuring yourself or hurting yourself in any other way. And again, we encourage you to document all your communication attempts in writing, just so there is a paper trail for later. Next slide, please. And then if the accommodations and talking to your employer/manager doesn't work, you can also you contact your local Cal OSHA office. So the California Occupational Safety and Health Agency has offices all across the state. You can use the link to find your nearest one, but also you can call any of the numbers and they can also redirect you to the office closest to you. You're allowed to file a complaint online or over the phone, and your name will be kept confidential unless you request otherwise. So by law, they cannot reveal who made the complaint to your employer. Next slide, please. And then lastly, I'm just going to briefly touch on disability protections that apply to workers. So currently under the law, a disability is anything that limits a major life activity. So any health issue that limits your ability to, for example, eat, sleep, walk, work, etc., is considered a disability. And if you do have a disability, you have the right to request reasonable accommodations at work to be able to perform your work, your job duties safely. Accommodations can include modified work schedules, additional equipment, things like that. And employers can ask for medical documentation at this stage, but they're legally bound to keep it confidential. And if there are instances where the employer finds out about your disability and then treats you differently because of your disability, that would qualify as disability discrimination. They're not allowed to ask intrusive questions about your health conditions or terminate you for requesting accommodations or leave. Next slide, please. And then lastly, if you think you're experiencing workplace violations, please feel free to call the helpline at the number shown on the slide, or you can also fill out a form online and someone will reach out to you. Thank you. Oh, next slide, please. Sorry, I think there's one last slide asking for questions. Okay.
Yes. We're actually ahead of schedule. So if anybody did want to slip in a question before we go into breakout, again, after breakout discussion, which we have a question tailored for both like HTA and legal aid at work, you will have time to share out and ask questions. But did anybody have any immediate question? Yeah, I'll sleep. Okay. It's totally fine. Before we go,
I have a question.
there we go. The
I was
period.
trying to write it. Is there any training programs in the Inland Empire?
Is that a question for HTA?
For legal
Just in
aid or
general.
HTA?
Just in general. Because I know HTA is mainly in Los Angeles.
We actually cover San Bernardino and Riverside counties. So one of our biggest employers is Ontario Airport, so we have a lot of openings there. But in terms of what training, there are so many trainings available in Inland
Okay.
Empire. I'll be happy to share a link with Darren how to find training program that is paid by grants.
Thank you.
Of course.
Also, Julie, is Dr. I'm hearing a big echo. Is Dr. Thomas still on? Are you here? So, Julie, we would also, if you live in the IE area, we'd be happy to connect you with the Inland Empire Black Worker Center for just additional support and resources around, different career pathways and resources that you might can learn about through your local worker center.
Hi, Don. It's Carolyn. I'm also on. I can put my email in the chat.
Oh, great. Perfect. There you go.
Yeah,
Julie,
no
meet
problem.
Carolyn.
No problem.
And then did we answer the other question here? Do you help with work discrimination? And then that's for legal aid. And then Naisha asks, are employers able to see an expunged conviction?
She
Answered it. Okay, my bad.
yes, Stacey answered that during the presentation.
Great. Okay. All right. Do we want to go into breakout?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, go do period.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go.
All right. So for our, we have about 20 minutes for the evening. We're going to take 10 minutes to give you all some space to connect directly. So there was a lot of information around career pathways tonight in the tourism, hospitality industry. And then of course, a lot of information around our rights. And so we have just two questions. And feel free to just connect in general. There's a lot of policy change going on that I want to mention before you actually go into breakout. I'm going to drop this in the chat. In addition to the bill that legal aid just mentioned around, moving around those barriers, there's also a Truth and Disclosure Act where we're trying to hold corporations accountable for any corporation that has over $100 million in profits to show any wealth that they've made off of enslavement, off of slavery. So this is a why am I blanking on the word? Oh my goodness, why am I blanking on the word? Reparations. It's not a reparations bill, right? It's an accountability bill because we know how much this country, has earned on the backs of enslavement. And so we want those corporations to show receipts. So that is a link to what that is about. That is a policy, Senate Assembly Bill 2599. And then of course our CWOP work, California Worker Outreach Program. We are also in the process of trying to make sure that that gets funded through the state budget. And so that is also work we're doing in Sacramento. So if folks are also interested in supporting the policy work that we do here at the Hub, doing that work with your local worker centers, feel free to, discuss that in the breakouts as well. So there's two main questions. One is with regards to work in tourism. Given that we know, industries that we're often pushed out of or having to like really push to gain clearer pathways into, do you all feel like that should be a focus that we should continue to work on? Right? Should we be pushing to regain access back into the hospitality industry? So folks may have interest individually. You may know someone who would be interested. Should this be a focus where we should strengthen this relationship with HTA and others who have these pathways? So that's
Done.
one question. Yep.
Technology
Real
industry.
go to the next slide,
Hello?
Sanaya, so they can see the question.
Oh, there you
Thank
go.
you. Okay.
Perfect. And then the second one, what are any other ways that we can be ensuring safety and protections for us as Black workers in the workplace? The slide isn't here, but we often talk about organizing. We talk about policy change. We talk about filing claims where there are egregious violations by employers, right? So if there are other things that you all feel like we should be doing to address violations of worker rights, then feel free to talk about that too. So yeah, I just want to give y'all time to connect. We're going to set the breakout groups, set that up right now, and you'll have about 10 minutes there. So